All right. Welcome to the Rams Agents Production Coaching Call. The goal of the call is to help you sell more homes by maximizing your repeat and referral closings by implementing the referral agent mastery system into your practice. My name is Mike Cerrone, co-founder of Rams Agents. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. First order of business, some good news. Anybody have some good news you'd like to share?
Well, let's see. Good news. I do have I have things to work on. That's good news. I have a listing that continues to be out there. We did go through a negotiation and walked away from a particular offer, but I've got a listing that's still active and great sellers who are very glad to have me working with them. And then I have another uh, deal where I'm working with some buyers who are looking for a home. They have very specific look property they're kind of looking for, so there aren't a lot of them that fit their box, but they're going to buy, and they are very able to buy when the time comes. And we're going to have a house to sell at that same time as well. So I've kind of got three transactions, in the hopper that are all happening. That they're going to eventually close. So that's good news.
That is good news. Fantastic. Congratulations, Blake. You're
Thank
getting
you.
in the thick of it. So if you don't mind, I'd like to unpack a little bit of that. Would that be okay?
Sure, sure.
All right, so let's talk about that listing. Now, you said a couple things there. First of all, you said you got a good relationship with them.
hmm
And why do you think that is?
For several reasons. One, you helped me really think in terms of aligning my vision with the seller's vision, so that if they're looking at something this way, then I'm going to get beside them and look at it that same way, and be their expert guide as we do that. So I think they really recognize that. I'm not pushing things that they don't want to do. I'm not, I have definitely made suggestions, but I'm also letting them know that they are in the driver's seat, and I'm just helping guide them along and let them make their own decisions. And I'm here to help inform those decisions for them. Um, I think there's that. And another reason is because of the constant contact that I have with them. I have a regular weekly report. Now, let me clarify here, because the report I sent last, we were at 87 days, I think, on market, listed for 87 days. So understand, every single week I am sending them a written report, an email with detail of and just what's going on with the property as far as marketing wise. I give them MLS stats from, how their listing is performing. I tell them how it's performing on Zillow. I Any other thoughts I have or any other comments about that. Talk about the competition, what's happening with other houses in that zip code that are in the same price, roughly same price range, and show them how those houses are listed here, then they had a price reduction, and then they closed or whatever. I'm keeping them updated on that. And then I have comments each time about either some other marketing tool or technique that I'm using for them, or some thought on what we can do with the property to make it a little more appealing. And like yesterday, I notified them because we did an open house on Saturday, and I notified them we had several light bulbs out, and I said, if it was just like one on a row of bulbs, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but it's like one in the hallway, and they're kind of important bulbs. So I said, if you don't get them, if you don't get, it's a vacant house. If you don't get a chance to get by there, I'm going to get by on Thursday. I'll be there, and I'm going to take some bulbs with me, so I'll make sure that they're so anyway, the communication, and then of course I'm on the phone with them if any activity is occurring. And we just went through a negotiation, so we were on the phone a good bit.
That's fantastic, Blake. So you've been putting out a weekly communication is the key, and you've had a
Mhm.
lot of communication. You said you've been putting out a weekly report. You email that out, then you're also talking to them on the phone. You have multiple sellers in multiple states, so you've got a primary you're communicating with, and then the information spreading out from there. You said 88 days, so you're coming up on 3 months. If I'm doing that right, you got about 12 communications you made that are standardized, that are happening each week, these seller reports. Um, and that's really valuable as our market changes. You know, every market's different. Some markets are still super hot, some are totally dead. It's just amazing how the markets are modifying and changing, which they always do. You know, real estate's always changing. And the key is this communication so they don't drop you too fast before you can get to the finish line. So excellent, excellent work on that. How long is your listing agreement for?
Well, that's a great, I'm glad you asked that because when we first set it up, I think I had it at just over 2 months when we first set it up. It was like to the end of the year. We signed in October and it was to the end of the year. So I had to re-up and I put it to roughly Memorial Day, right at the end of May, on the re-up. And it was, not a problem at all because of all the communication. They obviously could see I was doing well. They, it was just a matter of by the time I needed to ask for an extension, so to speak, uh, they it was already understood. Oh, of course, yeah, and they see the efforts I'm making and the investment I'm making in the home as we've done 3 open houses. They see that I'm doing activity. I do a lot of video. I've got it on YouTube. I update that whenever we do something different at the house. So they get a video, not a video update, but like when we changed the price, that YouTube video changed. So they see that that's happening, and so they in fact it's a mother and her 2 daughters that are selling the property. It's a family home they grew up in, the girls did, and she my contact told me that her mom commented the other day that Blake seems to really know what he's doing. So, and my contact said, she said, and Blake, you don't know this, but that is a high compliment from my mom. So that's why I say I've got good sellers. I think they're very reasonable in their expectations. They're extremely appreciative of the work that I'm doing. They constantly tell me that. So, and they have commented about that weekly email is one of the best tools ever. They said, my contact, Lisa, says, I'm able to review that and I'm able to forward that to the other parties involved. So her mom and her sister. So it really is a great thing.
Yeah, that's great. Uh, I like how you did kind of a trial period, right? You had the first 2 months, 60 days.
Yeah.
Most people would consider that a short listing, although we've been in such a fast market that seemed reasonable when it was super fast.
Yeah.
Things are slowing down in a slower time of the year. But you didn't shy away from that. You said, yeah, let me give me a shot for 60 days. And that's something for you to remember in the future. You know, just think of it as a trial period. You're getting your sign out there, you're getting your activity out there until you're extremely busy. There's no reason not to do a trial period for even a week or a month, right? To get your
Sure.
foot in the door, show that you're serious, that you're good. The other thing I think is important to remember is um, once somebody commits, right, once they sign the listing agreement, they've committed to you. So even if there are a short period of time or there are outs in your agreement, most people have mentally committed. In the old days, it was a handshake. You handshake, and that was the commitment. Today, it's a signature. So if people sign on the dotted line, they've committed to you. And as long as you uphold your end of the bargain, things are probably going to go well. One final thing is shortlisting is actually could be beneficial to you if you end up getting into a bear trap. They turn out to be
True.
terrible folks and you don't want to work with them anymore. You have kind of an out. So um, And in fact, when I have an easy exit listing agreement, a lot of people have been doing that. We've been doing that for almost 30 years now, and that allows the seller to get out of the contract with a X notice, 24-hour notice, 72-hour notice, whatever you decide you're going to do. And I started writing into mine long ago. Not only could they get out with a notice, but I could get out with a notice. So
Mhm.
it's all part of the same agreement. Um, well, Blake, this is great. There's only a few of us on the call today. Start off with just you and I. We've got Tristan that popped in, and so we'll I hopefully spend a lot of time talking about you and your needs and what your goals are. But thank you for sharing with the listing. Do you have any questions on the listing? Any challenges you're running into that you would like us to address?
It's a good question. You know, I was thinking one thing too about that listing length. Um, it has been my philosophy for many years, and you know, I was selling before real estate. I was selling advertising, and television and radio advertising, and a lot of times there was a goal of getting a client to obligate themselves for a year, you know, an annual contract or whatever. And sometimes that was needed and appropriate for certain products. But I always had the attitude of the if I'm not providing value and earning the renewal basically each month or each week or whatever, then I'm not doing my job. That in a sense, I'm not afraid of a short commitment, like you said, because if I'm not earning my keep, I need to, they need to get rid of me anyway. And I need to walk away from them if I'm not doing the things I need to do. So, as you said, maybe that trial period, yes, we need to protect ourselves with some length of contract, but I also am a firm believer that I need to earn it every week or at least every month. So anyway.
Absolutely, and what great experience to bring into this business. One other quick thought on that: if you do a short listing agreement, or you're coming up on the end of your agreement, you need to be bringing it up with your people 30 days out, right? You
Mm.
don't want to wait till the last minute. You do not want your listing to expire, because if it expires in the MLS, all the other agents are going to attack your seller. They're going to be calling, dozens of agents, if not hundreds of agents, will contact your seller through the phone and email and text and social media, et cetera, and drive them insane. And then your seller will be mad at you for not giving them that update. And in fact, that's something you can use to say, hey, we really need to get this thing signed, because if we expire, I'm okay with that, but you're not going to like it. You want to know why? Because you're going to get pounced on by the industry, and they're doing their job. They're going to do their job, but they're going to pounce on you if they see that the listing expired, because they're going to think, oh my gosh, this is up for grabs, and it will be crazy. A lot of sellers do not like that experience. People knocking on your door, people calling you every minute of the day, trying to get your business. And anyway, that's why we should probably get together here real quick, Blake, and get this thing extended. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great way to present that. Yeah, it's a benefit to them. You just
It
presented it as a
really is.
benefit to them to get it extended.
And don't forget to end on a question. The other thing you did, for people that don't know, is because we're recording this and maybe some other people can learn from this, you did a great job getting a price reduction, right? You were moving along, the property wasn't getting any action. You were giving your reports to the seller knew what was going on. And so when you asked for a price reduction, you were able to get that, correct?
That is correct. Excuse me. The I had kind of set it up over several weeks. Once it was pretty evident that the original price was not what the market was going to accept, then we needed that price reduction, and it was a significant one. We used the bracketing. I used the bracketing discussion technique where we were priced at 300,000, and uh, when it really came time to, hey, we need to look at a price adjustment, um, I said the true next step is 275, not 395 or 295. We're not going to not, it's not going to help us if we just knock it down 5 grand or 10 grand. I said, it needs to go to the next bracket because people search in brackets of 250 to 275, 275 to 300, 300 to 325, so forth. So I use it is a technique, but it's also just some reality. And I pointed out the reality of that. And they understood, accepted that, and said, yes, that makes sense to us. Let's change it to 275. That was I mean, when you think about that, that's about a 8%, maybe 9%, 8% reduction in price. Um, it was significant.
That's fantastic. And I'll make the assumption that you talked to them at the listing agreement. We've talked about this before. It all comes back to the listing agreement and getting it right from the beginning, to coach your people, to train your people, to educate your people at the very beginning. Here's how we're going to be proceeding, uh, and here's what we could run into. I'm a big proponent of taking a lot of time in that listing presentation rather than trying to rush through it and educate them, but going through this price point technology, because I know that we might miss the mark out there, or they may be trying to get a higher price than is reasonable. And that's okay. I'll roll with them if they are, uh, if I get the feeling that they will make an adjustment down the line. Now, some people won't. They'll hang out there forever and they'll never move. And then you got to decide if you want to spin your wheels on that one. If maybe the market's rolling really fast up, maybe you'll take a shot at it. But if not, you might be wasting a lot of time and your money, and that's something you can't get back is your time. So, but writing in price reductions in the agreement if you need to, the listing agreement at the beginning, and that helps if you've already had the discussion of the price points, which you've picked up on. I'm really
Yeah.
proud of you, Blake. You picked up on a lot as we're talking today. As a newer agent just coming over and getting into your second year in the business. So, well, this is good. And then let's move on. Unless you have any questions about listing, you can ask me anything because it looks like
Yeah.
it's going to be just us today.
Yeah. So I was thinking about the listing. Of course, the price reduction was a huge step and it definitely created more online activity. It did not bring anybody to the open house, but it created a lot more online views and saves and that sort of thing. So there were definitely more people looking at it, and it generated that one offer that we got to negotiate. So I still think that's a positive step, and that was not even 2 weeks ago, right at 2 weeks ago. Um, but I am interested in your thoughts on what other ways to keep the listing somewhat vibrant and compelling out there, other than just, dropping the price, which is obviously that's a great way to do it. I mean, that's a very effective way is to adjust the price. Is there any other suggestion you would have? I mean, we did an open house. I do have YouTube tour, video tour of the house available out there, and um, I thought I'd see if you have any other thoughts, and I have already knocked the neighborhood doors too.
Yeah, that's a great question. Uh, I got to tell you, I after selling basically 1,000 homes, I still don't have a great answer to that. I mean, let's
Mm.
just be honest. That some
Yeah.
people might BS you. I'll just be true and give you the honest answer. As I was in the trenches every day, I had the same question that you have, and I'm sure a lot of veteran agents have, which is, I do X, Y, and Z, and the home sells, and sometimes it doesn't sell, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure if there's a direct connection between them. It's kind of like that old Barnum and Bailey. I think that was the old circus guy. I can't remember which one it was. I wish I remember his name, but he did a lot of promotion, and he said, "I know that 80% of my promotion doesn't work, but I don't know which 20% does, so I just got to do all of it."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
P.T.
kind of the way
Barnum.
you'll feel, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you'll do one action and it works, and other times you'll do it again, it won't work. And um, the bottom line is this: this is something that agents don't like to admit, but the MLS is one of the most amazing tools we've ever created, ever, this cooperation. And that's why the NAR settlement really struck me in an awful way, that an outsider's coming in and jacking up our amazing system. And we kind of let it get away from us. I'm not going to go down that path too long, but we kind of let it get away from us, and we lost this amazing tool at its full force. We had an extremely efficient market, and luckily it seems to be moving along pretty good still, but it's no longer as efficient as it was, and it's not going to be moving forward. Now, that's an advantage. In every market has an advantage and a disadvantage, but just in market dynamics, that's a drag. My point is this: the most important, most effective thing to get your property sold is making sure all the other agents in the market know about it with all their other buyers. It's just logic. You're getting it out to the whole market when you're going in the MLS, especially now with syndication, and it's going out to everybody's website, and it's, you're getting massive exposure. I'm also bringing this up to, don't forget to remind the seller, because they're going to say, well, you're not doing enough. You say, hey, look, this thing is getting everywhere. And so I used to actually spend time on that in my listing agreement of, I'm going to be putting in the MLS, that's going to go out to our local agents, but through syndication, we're going out regionally, nationally, and even internationally for people out there. You would not believe how many websites this now gets duplicated out onto, not only duplicated, but updated on a minute by minute basis. This thing is out there. So if we're not getting any activity, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we got to make a change. Okay. So we got to make a change. And the things that we can change are, and then you start to go down the list. But I always do that in the listing presentation. I've already set them up for this. Like, what can you change? Well, the things that make a difference in a value of a home is the location. Can we change the location?
Nope.
No. The land is where the land is. If it's next to a nuclear waste site, then that's where it is. If it's next to a pristine park, that's where it is. Wherever it is, it is. So let's go down the list further. Do we have functionality, right? And you say, well, what does that mean? Well, if you get into some older property, you can have a house that has 10 bedrooms and only one bathroom. It's not very functional. People don't want to live like that. They don't want to live like that anymore. Really old, it has an outhouse in the back. Nobody wants to live like that. So it's functionally not up to snuff, and we might have to make some changes. We might have to make some construction changes. Do you want to do that? Do you want to add 3 bathrooms to this house, right? And you throw it out there. You've got to throw them out there, and don't assume that they have an answer. They're going to answer one way or the other. They might say, you know what, I'm a contractor, or my brother is a contractor. Yeah, we'll throw a bathroom in. Sure. They may want to go down one of these paths. But you find out, and if they say no, you say, okay, well, we can't do that. How about we spruce it up? How about we do at least carpet and paint, or you go to a lower level of improvement? Well, I can do that, can't do that. Great. If they won't do that, you say, okay, well, the next level then is everything can be fixed through price. Everything can be fixed through price. Can I give you an example? Notice I like to end on questions. I like to have them connected with me. Okay. I like to make sure they're involved. So can I explain? And they say yes. I say great. I like to go to the extreme. It helps prove points. Okay. So let's say you've got your property that we've been talking about. It started at 300,000. And that's where you ended up listing it at. So that's what I assume you all liked at the listing agreement at the time. So if I were sitting there talking to them, I said, let me give you an example, Blake, of how price can change things. For instance, what if we price this home at $1 million? Do you think that it will sell?
No.
Actually, Blake, it will sell for $1 million, but you're going to need a lot of time. You're going to need a lot of time, because maybe in 50 years, or maybe even 20 years, this thing would be worth $1 million. But today, not on the comps. It's not showing anybody who would be paying $1 million today. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, good. By the way, I like to bring time into the equation when we
Yeah,
start
that's
talking
good.
about pricing. Um, Blake, let me ask you a different question. If we were to price this home at $1, do you think we would sell it?
Oh, yeah.
I know
Yeah.
you don't want to sell it for $1, but it'd sell pretty fast at $1. In fact, it would go super fast at $1. Would you agree? I mean, hell, I'll give you $1 right now. You can sell this thing in 30 seconds. Okay.
That's
Right. And
good.
they're going to do that. They're going to start laughing and or at least be perplexed. And you say, well, what I'm trying to show you is there's a value range. There's a huge value range. And one of the factors that tie into this is time. So for instance, I could probably get you 300,000, but it might take me a year or two or three. Are you okay with that? You have to ask them because they may say, yeah, I'm okay waiting 2 or 3 years. Great. Let's roll. You have to decide if you want to play the game at that point. But
Right.
if you do, great, let's roll with it. And then they can't get mad at you that it's not selling. You have the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Um, but using that idea of time and money really helps as well. And so now you can bring into, if they've got a motivating factor, if they need to get this home sold by X, you can say, well, it doesn't look like 300,000 is going to get you to your destination by X date. We may need to reconsider this price and do an adjustment. You used the proper term earlier. It's a price adjustment to here to go meet the market.
Meet the market. I don't think I
Meet,
used that word. That's good. Yeah.
yeah, meet the market. The whole thing is about the market not liking their property, not you, not me as the agent. I love your property. I love any seller who has a property, any homeowner who has a property. This is their home, right? This is the place they love. So, hey, this is an awesome place. And the market has just not met us. The competition is a little strong. And by the way, you may need to show that through competition, right? Reshow your comps. Even into your listing, you're 3 months into the listing, you may want to do a new CMA. Here's what the competition is. And here's a bonus move, which I have not done, but I really like, and I've heard recently, especially in this situation, if you're deep into the time frame with them in the listing and nothing's happening, offer to go show them the competition.
Ah,
Say, let's go do some previews, some showings, but these are really previews. Let's go preview your competition. Let's go walk through the three homes that I think are the most competitive with yours, because I want you to see how they compare to yours. Because there's one thing to look at a picture or even a video. There's another thing to be in it. Right? A
yeah.
lot of people are tactile. It's a small group, but the people are tactile. They got to touch stuff. They got to be inside of it. Most people are visual. Then there's auditory. They got to hear it. They got to hear the sound echoing off the wall, right? That's the next biggest group of people. And then there's tactile. If you throw them into the house and they see that, oh my gosh, these people gutted the kitchen and put in a brand new kitchen. These people knocked out the back and did an addition, and I'm walking in it. Oh, wow, this really opens up this house. The back of this house opens up to this amazing field full of goats. Right? This is incredible. Blake likes to raise little miniature goats. So that was the inside joke there on the
Yeah.
goats. Um, so getting them into the house might be the next level for them. What do
That's
you
a
think of
great
that?
idea. Offer to show the competition and it because I am reporting on the competition in my weekly email. But yeah, and particularly if I isolate a few, because I've gone and previewed some of the competition. I've definitely done that. And I did that, in fact, right after the open house. I went to another one that was advertised as an open house. It wasn't open. In fact, it was locked and no one was present, but didn't even have a didn't even have a lockbox that I could use on the outside. So I couldn't have gone in there if I wanted to. But that's a great idea to line up. Let's go look at two or three of the houses that are priced similar that are your competition. They're in the area. That's a
And
great
here's
idea.
one step back. Let's say you've got a couple of people out of town. What if they were all out of town? They can't walk through the property.
Hmm.
So one step back is what you just said. I will preview the property and I will video it and send
Yep,
you a video.
that's
Now,
right.
My only caution there is if it is a not a vacant house, it's an occupied
Oh,
house.
sure, sure.
Make sure that if you video it, you could do that. In my opinion, I'm not giving legal advice, but I believe you could do that and share it with your people, just like if they had walked through the house. But you don't want to publicize that walking through the house. So don't put it up on your YouTube channel and share it with everybody. But if you did a private video, a private, or even I think it's private,
Yeah,
where you can lock it down with a code, and then you
sure.
give your people the code, then they can see what that other house looks like. And by the way, after they look at it, you might want to delete it off any public site. But the idea of walking them through the house virtually, you could even maybe do it on a FaceTime. If they have time, you can walk through on FaceTime and you say, hey, is there any room you want to see? Check this out. That would be like the next best thing. All right, so we talked about the fact that in the listing agreement, you're setting everything up, the listing presentation. You've set them up for the ball game. You've laid the foundation for this whole thing to work. Um, Now you're in it and you're saying, hey, what do I do to get this thing sold? I guess that was one of these higher level questions. You can do open houses. Keep in mind, an open house works 1 out of 50 times, 2%. National average, it's been the same since I was starting, hasn't changed. NAR does all these surveys. How did you find your house? And only 2% of the buyers say open house. Now, that is higher than you would think, but it's 1 out of 50, which means you'd have to hold an open house every single weekend for an entire year to find a buyer through that one medium. But it may be something you consider or do. Most open houses are either to pacify a seller who's getting antsy and show them that you're doing something, or you're looking for buyers for other properties, because sometimes buyers will pop in your open house and say, well, this is not going to work for me. You got anything else? And you bring them to another property and you end up picking up a buyer. That could happen. And that may be a reason you do open houses. Um,
And I,
you,
I have a third reason,
yes, go
and
for it.
it's actually probably the greatest benefit of me doing the open house on this one is I also shoot, I do a Facebook Live and I shoot video and basically do a big invitation that is blasted to my social media. I say blasted, it's posted on my social media. So I look at that as um, a tool to either possibly recruit other people who want to list their house or buyers. As you said, if somebody comes walking in, obviously that then they're potentially a buyer of another property. Same thing on my videos. And because this particular listing came with the seller telling me, I saw your video of another house that you were selling, and I saw that you got that handled, so that's why I want you to come do this house. Um, I have identified that as one of it happens to be one of my strengths is the live video. And it really actually comes from my radio days. I think when we do these live remotes and you can just keep on talking about something. So I would do these live videos. But a lot of people, hundreds of people see those videos. So I recognize that there's some exposure, but I don't want to be doing that every week at the same property. So that would be a big negative. So I've got to kind of weigh that. Um, but anyway, I mentioned that because there is that benefit to me when I occasionally am at the property doing a live video.
I agree. I think it's really neat that you either do a walkthrough or a a house presentation
Yeah.
through video, a house tour through video. When you start, I think that's awesome. You might do it when you do a price reduction.
Yeah, which is what I was doing this time. Yeah. That
You might
it,
even do it when you go under contract and even right before you
huh?
close. I mean, if you kind of want to run through, because you're showing the progress of you going through this transaction to your people on social media.
It's a good
Okay.
idea.
You're saying, hey, I got this property and I'm putting it on the market. I got this property and we're going to make a change. We just put in new light bulbs, right? You're going to put some new light bulbs in, but maybe something more form, we just did new paint. How do you think it looks? Something like that. Um, because people love those kind of shows, right? Where you're selling a house or buying a house, And if you're just showing points in time, that might not be bad. I do hesitate against showing, every week, you're not getting it sold, not getting it sold, not going sold. That might work
Yeah.
against you.
Yeah.
But every time you make an improvement or make a change, just got an offer on the property, maybe that might be showing actually too much information for your
Yeah.
seller. You never want to do anything that could harm the seller. But maybe going under contract or pending. And then the closing, it's right pre-closing, the pre-closing walkthrough. Hey, we're going to get this property. We've got this property sold. We're about to close it up in the next hour or day. And boy, I'm really excited. Check out this home. I'm going to miss this one. This was a lot of fun, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There you
I'm
go.
looking for the next one. You have the next one for me. You can even play on the video, right? Is your home the next one I'm going to be working on? So that might be another way to take that approach as well.
No, that's great. That's a good way to think of that. Yeah, and actually, I mean, the video, I know there are some people because it got shared and that sort of thing. So I know there's some people who saw it that were not my people that I didn't know, but I'm actually doing it specifically for my people because of the RAMS program. I'm doing it so that my people get another touch and they see I'm doing some activity. I'm not calling them and saying, "Have you got anything to sell?" But they have actively seen me doing my job and they see me presenting a property and they see how I'm going to present it. So I'm with you on that though. This is great though, the different stages when something happens. In this case, it was fine because we had adjusted the price from 300 to 275. So it was nice to, we're doing another open house and it had been a month and a half since I'd done an open house. So it had been a while. Um,
And this is your group. This is your personal group. They're seeing you're working hard and you're actually helping the seller by getting more exposure on this property, the new price point. If you add an incentive, if you make any changes to the property, these are all things that should be put out there. And you have a medium to do that. So we're going back to this really good in-depth question, which is how do you get a property sold, a listing sold? What are all the things you can do? We went back to the number one thing you can do is price and condition. Price and condition, those two items. You can't change location, so it's price or condition. And then the seller's often going to bring up exposure. Why aren't you putting it in the newspaper in a full page ad? Or why aren't you, if it's an expensive home, why isn't it in the Wall Street Journal on page 6? Well, okay, but statistically that's not going to work. Number one. Number two, we're already getting massive exposure because we go back to the point that we have it in the MLS and the MLS is being syndicated. So the MLS is local, syndication's covering us regionally, nationally, and internationally. So we've covered the exposure question. I'm assuming you have a sign up and you've taken good pictures and video. I'm assuming you got a lockbox for access, all these base level things that you need to make sure that the property can be shown. There are a couple other things that you can do that I'll bring up now that they have a dual purpose. They may find you a buyer for this property and they may find you another client. Okay, so like open houses was one of those where it's a low probability, but you might find a client, so you might decide to do it if it's something you enjoy doing, and that's part of your business strategy. For me, by the way, I never did open houses because I knew the success rate was so low and I wanted to use my time to generate other kinds of business. But you could do things, for instance, you brought up earlier door knocking. You could go around the neighborhood and door knock. I believe you did 20. You could expand that to 50 or expand it to 100 or expand it to 500. I mean, you could really door knock the snot out of the neighborhood promoting that particular home. And in the process, you might find somebody who wants to move in. In fact, the odds are really high that someone in the neighborhood knows somebody who wants to move into the area because they've got friends that come to their house, they got family that come to the house, they got coworkers that come to their house and say things like, "Yeah, I'd love to live here." When I grew up, my aunt and uncle lived right next door to me. It's because my parents moved into a house. And then my aunt and uncle a couple of years later said, "Well, we're thinking about moving." And my folks said, "Well, there's a house next door for sale. Why don't you buy it?" And they did. And so I got to grow up next to my cousins, which was amazing. It was a lot of fun. So people do that. They'll bring in their friends and family and they'll let them know. So that's why it's really valuable to go around and knock on the neighbors' doors, send them a postcard, call them up on the phone. So if you're a phone prospector, call in the neighborhood. If you're um, if you do it by door knocking, like Tristan does, you can knock on doors. If you prefer to do mail, you can do mail. You can get lists out there to send someone an email, although you got to be careful about the email laws now, and text messaging and so forth. But anyway, you get the idea. You can go around the area. I'll give you one more bonus on that idea. By the way, you're going to pick up listings by doing that because you're going to say, hey, the Smith's home is for sale over here. It's got blankety, 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 blank. Do you know anybody who'd like to buy it? Would you like to pick your neighbor? Would you like to pick your neighbor? Do you have anybody that would like to move into this neighborhood? Um, my son was going to buy a house, bought a house years ago, and my wife really wanted him to buy in the neighborhood. Right? So she's looking at all the homes for sale in the neighborhood, telling him about it. I'm telling you, this is just one of those things that we kind of don't think about, but it's a big deal. This networking of the neighbors. Um, anyway, so that's one. The other one is this. Start to think strategically about a move up or move down buyer. A move up or move down buyer. So it depends on what your property is. And I don't know your market well enough, Blake, but 300,000, is that the entry level of the market? Is the middle of the market? Is it the upper end of the market? What is it?
Yeah, this is priced at an entry level. Our median sales price is 330,000. So now that I'm at 275, that is definitely more of an entry level, particularly for the size of this house. It would be I say entry level, but it's going to be entry level for someone who probably has more family members than just a pair. Just
Is it a
because there's
ranch? Is it a one level ranch,
it's a
one level house?
split level, split
Okay.
level. Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty big for our area, 1,900 square feet. Um, it's pretty big. I'm advertising it as 4 bedroom, 3 bath because it is 2.5 bath,
So it's a
four
good size
bedroom.
home. It's not a beginner home. It sounds like it's a middle range home.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, that's probably true.
It's not like a
There
little
aren't a
two
whole lot of
bedroom,
them.
one bath house or a one bedroom condo.
Yeah.
It's so here's why I'm going there. Most, and I should have mentioned this earlier, 50% of the people move right back into the same zip code they're already in.
Hmm.
Okay, that was another NAR that's been around for a long time, and I found that to be true. So because they got their school there, they got their church there, they got their grocery store there, they got their friends there, they got their social networks there, right? Everything is in that area, and so they want to live where they are familiar with things. Now, people do move away, but half the people stay right in the same zip code. So, knowing that, what you can do is you can start making effective targets of groups of people that might be likely to buy this property. And you're going to go up market and down market. Here's what I mean. Well, down market's the most obvious one. So someone who owns a smaller property might want to sell it and move up to your property. Okay. And if you're at the very bottom of the market, then somebody who's renting might want to get out of the rental and buy this property. All right. So if you're home, by the way, it's harder now with interest rates when they went up, but remember they change all the time. So keep your eye on it. But if rates on the payment, if the payment gets in line with rental rates, then that's a great time to go talk to renters and say, hey, own instead of rent's the same cost per month. All
Yeah.
right. And so what you would do then is you could market to those people. You could either do it through mail or phone, all these things we talked about, mail, phone, knock on their door, etc. I'm thinking of a lot of agents. In fact, I'm thinking Yevon popped in with us. I'm thinking of the guy up in Chicago got his start by knocking on rental doors to tell people about properties he had for sale that they could get the same as rent, right? And he did a great job. And he's selling around 50 properties a year as well up in Chicago. So it's kind of interesting. He's a good man. Um, Bryce. Bryce is up there. In any event, the point is this: you go down market and you find a group of people there, and it depends on your budget. You could do 50 or 100 or 200 people and mail to them, or knock on their door, or call them and say, hey, look, I got this property up here. Why don't you take a peek? and you're going to tell your seller what you're doing the whole time. I should have started there with the you got to tell, you got to blast your own horn. You've got to promote yourself because nobody else is going to do it. If you're not informing your seller of all the work you're doing, they think you're doing nothing. So that's why you do that weekly report. That's another real valuable reason to do the weekly report. So you write it down in the report. You let them know, hey, look, I'm going to go find us a buyer. I'm going to go down market. This is what they used to do before the MLS. You have to go down market and find that buyer and bring them in. Now, the reason I asked if your home was a ranch is you might go up market and
Hmm.
talk about somebody downsizing. So if you
Right.
get a ranch listing, those are one ranches in our area. That's just for a one level house. So one level living is a big deal for someone who now has a bum knee, or they're having a hard time getting around. They may be in a wheelchair, or they're just on a cane, or whatever. They're older. They're having a problem getting around, but they've been in their home for a long time. They probably have no mortgage or a lot of equity. They could cash that out on their big giant home, sell it, and get to a smaller home, take that excess cash and do something else with it to get them through retirement. So a lot of people are thinking that way. And as we move over the next decade, that is going to be a massive group of people, these baby boomers, and I forget the next generation's name, but these people that are getting into the retirement age, they they want to get rid of their empty nesters. They had a house to have 4, 5, 6 bedrooms because they had a bunch of kids. My wife is the 10th kid in her family, right? Some families can be big, and but now the house is just too big. And so they sell that house and get down to something more manageable, either a small house or a townhouse or a condo. And then eventually maybe assisted living, that might be another option. But if you're looking in this life cycle, people, right? They buy a small house, they get a big house, and then they actually want to go down to a smaller house again and then go out. All right. I remember them talking about that maybe 15 years ago, downsizing. And the interesting thing that happened at that time is they didn't want to get a smaller house. They want to keep their big house for the grandkids to come over. Okay. And that was a trend. But a lot of people do want to get down to a smaller house. And if you're dealing with the folks that have a lot of equity, they can do the whole thing in cash. There's no mortgage problem. They're not worried about losing their house with a great mortgage because they don't have a mortgage. They're not worried about buying the house with a high interest rate mortgage because they're going to buy in cash. So it's a really cool market to consider if you ever get these homes you think somebody can come into. Even if you have a multi-level house where if the main bedroom is on the main floor, okay, if everything could be
Mhm.
lived in on the main floor, I know sometimes they have that style, and then the upper floors are just extra bedrooms. Those houses could work for this as well for the downsize. Now, let me give you the final part of the equation. People usually buy up 50%. So if you're at a $100,000 house, you're going to buy a 150. Okay. And then the reverse is a lot more flexible, but conceptually, you would go up 50%. Like you're at 300,000, you'd go up to a neighborhood about 450, where the homes are 400 to 500,000. And those people are probably going to come back down. They feel comfortable with that type of change. Although coming down, they could start as really high. I mean, you'd be surprised. Some people will come out of $1 million houses and go down to a couple $100,000 house. They just don't want the space anymore. They started in a small house. It's very comfortable for them. Some people would not be comfortable moving that. You won't know until you. Anyway, the point is, you're going to come at these two different directions in the market. You could go find a buyer.
I think that's a great plan. I appreciate that thinking. Because you're getting outside of the standard things. Um, and and thank you for the reminder too. I know that the MLS is, I mean, that's the biggest tool I've got, no question about it. Um,
We take
but
it for
thank you for
granted. So
what's
easy.
that?
We take it for granted because we've had it
We
for so long.
That's right. But that is something that I need to remind. When you mention locally, nationally, even internationally, I need to remind my sellers that that's exposure they're getting because of the MLS. But yeah, this idea of now I can go back to neighbors because of the price reduction. The price adjustment would qualify as a significant change to let them know about it. And then this idea of strategically targeting the move up or move down buyer. This one probably is more of a move up. And because I did have at one of my open houses, I had some folks come in that were they weren't necessarily moved down, but they were looking at it as an option for them. But there's a lot of steps. Even to get in the main level, you've got to climb a staircase to get in the main level. So it's not going to be a great fit for somebody that needs that. You're absolutely right. The one level has its own value. I used to have a house that was one level right across the street from the hospital, and that's what sold that house. This man was taking care of his father at home. He said, "This will be perfect, Blake. My dad can live in this bedroom, and I'll be over here. And if he needs, something, we're right there. We can just shoot
Walk
across
across the street.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And
It's
boy,
great.
next to a big facility like that has massive advantages, right? You could have sold it to a nurse or a doctor, or
Right.
I helped a doctor one time, and he wanted to be right next to the hospital. So I helped him buy multiple houses next to that hospital. He kept looking for different homes, and he was actually a resident, right? He was starting up in the early days. So it was a small house, then a little bigger house, but they were all right next to the hospital. Uh, all right, let me give you one
Yeah.
final one because we're starting to wrap up on time, and uh, and that's this. Uh, the other way that homes sell is through the networking of agents. Okay, that
Mm.
was the way that, again, if you want to figure out ways to do it, just look at what the old timers did before the MLS. The old timers, the reason the whole MLS came together is the smart agents networked. They would they'd have a meeting once a week actually, and they would go talk about their listings. That's how the whole MLS developed. And they'd say, "Hey, I got this property on ABC Street, and does anybody know anybody who's interested in that?" And they would make their own little connections. Well, you could do the same thing today. If you look in your area that you have this property for sale and you look back in the MLS, you do a little research. Again, you're a real estate agent, do a little more than everybody else. Do a little research and you go back, you're going to find that there's only a handful of agents that are kicking butt in that market. They're bringing most of the buyers. Now, it's an advantage today with the MLS, at least most of them. The old days, you could only see who was selling the homes. Today, you can see who's bringing the buyers too. So it used to be you only could see the listing agent. Now you can see the buyers. So you go find if there is a particular agent who's bringing a lot of buyers into that neighborhood, and then you reach out to them and say, "Hey, I got this home for sale. I wanted you to know about it. Have you seen it yet? Could you give me any feedback on what you think we need to do to get this whole sold? Do you have any buyers that are interested in it, etc." That is massive. And so what you're telling your seller, remember, you want to keep showing the seller how hard you're working for him. Say, "Hey, look, I'm reaching out to someone who's brings a lot of buyers into this market. And I want you to know that I'm going to see if they have any buyers that are interested in your home." By the way, don't tell them the agent's name.
No, no,
If
definitely
your
not.
listing does expire, they may be running over there. But the
No,
idea
that needs to be
is that
presented as that needs to be presented as they're part of my network. That other
yes,
agent is. It's not that I went and found them, right?
that's
It's
actually a much better way to say it. I
yeah.
network, here you go. I network with the top 10 agents in this area, and I'm going to make sure they know about your home and the fact we just had a price change.
There you go. That's perfect.
Right? I'm going to reintroduce them to that. The old days, they would do a thing called a broker open. Anyone, do they ever still do broker opens today?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the original, oh, does anybody do a broker tour? That was the old too. That would the broker, you would bring every week in my original office, we would go look at all the new listings. The broker would drag all the agents in the office through all the new listings. And one, that was to show the seller that we're working for him. Two, it might click off a bell that, hey, I actually have somebody who could be interested in this. I didn't realize it was next to the elementary school. I didn't realize it had blankety blank. It had its own photograph room, dark room, because I know someone who's a photographer and they've been looking for that, or whatever the situation may be. Uh, And then, so you did that in your office, and then the broker open was to do it for other brokerages, other offices to come take a look at your home. And today's technology, like, why do that? Well, because there was no technology like today. So, that was the beginning before the MLS, or as the MLS was developing, these were the ways that you made these connections. Sometimes you got to go old school.
Hmm.
All right. So the last 2 minutes that we have, I'm going to open up to Yevon. Yevon joined us. Yevon, we're talking about ways to get a listing sold. Any ideas that you could share with Blake?
I mean, I don't know if you guys discussed like about emails you said. It's I think it's a good one to send like on MLS you can find the kind of list of buyers agents, who like doing the search for certain kind of clients, and you can email them your listing. Did you discuss this one?
Yeah, tell us more about what you're thinking. Just throw it
I
out
mean,
there.
like you just open MLS and you can like when you list your property, it's also option like to see like how many agents, like buyer's agent, set up the search on MLS, right? And you can see like the all agents' emails, and you can do it, or like your assistant can do it. Just email them your listing if they are kind of set up already. Search on MLS. You can share your information to them and let them know like, oh guys, I have this listing and I see like you have a client with this kind of like search, like 3-bedroom house, like you said, like right? Or 4 bedrooms, like 3 bedrooms. And sometimes it's working. It's a good one. And I want to try, like Mike said, like find out like for my listing, the top 10 kind of like buyers agents who like bring more kind of like buyers in the area. I don't know how to search for that. Mike, do you have some idea how to search for this kind of agents?
Well, first of all, I'm not an expert at the MLS anymore, so you need to be an expert at your MLS. I'm going to go back to your first statement. I think it's called reverse prospecting. It's reverse
Reverse
something.
prospect, yes.
Is that right? Reverse prospecting?
Yes, right.
Great idea. Thank you for bringing that up. The second thing is you just do a search on home sales. There may be a way to do it fast. Actually, in my MLS, I haven't really played with enough. It's called stats, and you can actually track stats for properties, but you can also track stats for agents. I saw that the other day, but I haven't dug deep into it. That might be the place to go. And if you can't, then I just go old school. Old school. This is what I would have done 20 years, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I just go into the area that I'm interested in, and I take the last X number of sales, like for the last month or last 3 months or 6 months, however far back I need to go to get a good group. And then I would start looking listing by listing and seeing when I'm seeing some of these names pop up multiple times. I'm like, oh my gosh, Sally Jones, she keeps selling all these properties in my price range. I better reach out to Sally Jones, because I believe they still show it, right? Don't they still show the listing agent and the co-op agent?
Yes, they
Haven't
do.
got rid of that yet. Let's hope, right? So you can see that, and that's, by the way, again, in the old days, they didn't used to show the co-op agent, the buyer side, so you couldn't get a stat on it. But now today you can. So you go in there and you can pop that out and see the trend for who is doing a lot of sales. You might consider going out to a top listing agent in the area as well. But in this particular case, I think the smart thing would be who's bringing the buyers, who's working with a lot of buyers in the area. For instance, Yevon on our call was telling us 54 homes sold last year and 85% were buyers. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're the kind of guy we want coming by. We're like reaching out to Yevon going, hey, Yevon, man, check this one out. Right? You're working with all the best buyers. Come on over. Right? There are certain agents that focus on buyers and have a great buyer business like you do. We want you coming through.
Yeah, I mean, I received these emails, but nobody called me and then ask like if you can help me to sell this kind of home or condo, just only emails. Yeah,
And
so
see,
far.
now if I was Blake and I was really hungry, I mean, this is you're working with qualified buyers. These aren't theoretical buyers. See, some of my other ideas are theoretical buyers, like going 50% below in price and 50% above. We don't know if those people want to move or not. I know Yevon's people that he's working with, they want to buy. That is a huge source. So I would email Yevon, I call Yevon, I text Yevon, I knock on his door if he's in a physical office and go, hey man, can I take you to lunch? I got to ask you a quick, could you take a look at this property. Man, I got this buyer. If you were a listing agent, excuse me, let me flip this around. If you're Yemen, you're the buyer agent, and somebody comes and knocks on your door and says, man, I got a listing over here. Would you mind taking a look at it? Tell me what you think. Would you be more inclined to do it because they're standing right in front of you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I would be helped. And
Nothing
also
else,
maybe
a little
like,
connection going, right?
right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, networking with agents is ones that we forget all the time because we're so independent minded, me included.
Yeah.
it's interesting because this offer that came on the listing, it really struck me. I don't know this other agent, but I know her her team. Her last name is the same as one of the top agents in the whole market. Jay Robinson is her name, or is his name, and her name is Allie Robinson. Now, here's the thing. I tried to call her by phone several times during the process. My phone call was never answered. But even on her voicemail, she said, if you want a quicker response, text me. So we ended up, everything was by text and then the email for the actual offer. But that is, it just strikes me that there's anytime you go old school and either show up at the office or do something, make a phone call, uh, anything out of the ordinary, it stands out. I mean, I presume she noticed that I was trying to call her, and I would always follow up with a text. And it wasn't terrible that we did it by text, but I could have conveyed more information probably if she would have taken my call and perhaps, helped her buyers.
I 100% understand you because like yesterday I just got the closing. It was new construction and I represent the buyer and I work with like a kind of like big agent in our area. She closed like last year kind of like 137 on sales and like around 30 people on buyer side. So like she's kind of big agent. And when we start communicate, she never call me, never email me. I just kind of work with her assistants, with two assistants, and assistants pretty much did all job. Agents never kind of answer for my offer. She never returned my calls. She never replied my emails. It's kind of like only her office with her two assistants. And even yesterday when we closed, we don't have a keys. I started, reach out to the agent. Our attorney started reach out. It's like same, just just like her assistants took the phone and said, okay, guys, the code for garage this one, and you can take the keys there. I mean, like full transaction, just like no agent. I mean, it's kind of like a ghost. I don't know how she's closing like 137 deals a year because like she never kind of call me or text me back for like all 45 days.
I think you just learned how she's doing it. She's doing it through leverage.
Leverage, yeah.
She's trained her people. Her people are extensions. You got to look at it from her perspective. I'm going to just take a second on this. I know we're going over, but she's looking at it as though they're her arms and they're her legs and they are an extension of her. She's trained them to be an extension of her to free up her time to do whatever else she needed to do. I doubt she's sitting on a beach somewhere. She might be, but I doubt it. She's in her own issues that she's dealing with. And so to do the volume, to handle more people, she's got these extra fingers, hands, and extensions on her business to help you. Your business did get taken care of. You went to a closing. It was successful. That's something to think about. It's just like when you go to the doctor today. The doctor doesn't do anything with you. You're there for an hour and a half and you see the doctor for 3 minutes, right? Well, she's the doctor. 3 minutes, right? Did you see her at the closing? Or well, I don't know. You may not be a table funding state. So we're a table funding state, so we all show up at the table. But that those couple of minutes is all you get with the doctor. Same here. It might be the couple of minutes are all you get with the top person. However, I can tell you in the background, most likely you were talking to the assistant and the assistant was turning around and interrupting her and saying, well, what do I do about this? What do I do about that? Okay, boom. And they go back out and they are replying to you. And it's a way to leverage the agent's efforts. I know you might like it. I know you might hate it. I understand that. That's not what I'm talking about. That's for you to decide and whether you want to do it that way or not. I'm just telling you on their end, because I've been in that position and I've talked to a lot of people who are, and I've seen some agents who, I knew a buyer agent that did 180 closings in a year. It was an agent who worked almost exclusively with buyers, and she had a showing assistant that was actually going out and showing. This is a long time ago too, that her model, and then she had one admin assistant, and you rarely talk to her because these people were running around, but she was orchestrating the whole business. She was usually actually on the phone prospecting. That was her superpower.
Yeah, it's cool to organize, system like that.
Yeah, you don't have to do it that way. You may decide to, may not to. That's the beauty of our business. I'm just telling you that's probably what happened over there. And the other thing is the texting that's now popular, texting and email. I would have definitely, if I were at high production, I'd be relying on the text and the email also, rather than playing phone tag, going back and forth and wasting a lot of time. So I'm okay with that. Let me throw one final thing on that. I'm sorry, I'm really creative today. On the text messages, you might do a video text message, right? If you want to get with that person a little closer, just say, hey, I want to just say hi to you and ask you this question or tell you this point. Boom. Now they're connecting with you more, because the fact is you will connect to a face more than you will words.
That is so
Okay, that's a good
true.
one.
And I forget that is a tool that we can use, is the video text message. And it is, I receive them occasionally. And it's not often, but occasionally I'll get one. And it always stands out. And like you said, especially if it's somebody that I can't connect with otherwise, why not send them a little video? Then they at least, have some personal interaction with me and feel more connected to the whole deal. That's a great idea. It's so easy too. It's ridiculously easy.
Here's a final bonus for RAMS. Um, you can do that for your PCSOI on their birthday. A lot of top agents do that. They literally, they'll take their phone out at the beginning of the day. I've seen them where they're walking to work, other things. They just pop their phone out and they say, hey, Blake, happy birthday. Just thinking about you today. Hope you have a fantastic day. Click. That's it. 10 seconds. And they send that out and they say the response is over the top. People just are so shocked that you took the time to do that. Because who contacts you on your birthday? Your family, your best friend, right? And now you've kind of moved into that inner circle. So that's just a little bonus. All right, let's wrap up the production call and we'll go into the huddle. I'm going to leave it open here for the huddle real fast so people kind of see what we do. So for the huddle, we got two questions we're going to ask you. Number one, what is the most important thing you did yesterday to move your business forward? And the second question is, what's the number one thing you're going to do today to move your business forward? Who would like to start?
Can I start first because I have to run?
Go for it, Yevon.
I have appointment in 10 minutes. So yesterday, like I said, I have a closing and I start ask more, people about leave me review on two different platforms. I just start using Rate My Agent tool. It's kind of platform to the agents to just ask for a review and people can leave it and you can share it for Google, Realtor.com, Zillow and things like that. So yeah, I just did this one and I got yesterday two showings. Probably I will make one offer today. So it was yesterday. For today, I have also a few showings and planning to start kind of go deep with follow-up buzz. This is kind of goal what I want to start kind of to understand how to organize the leads, because it's kind of we become little by little for spring market. So I just want to make sure I cannot lose any leads. This is what I want to do. Thanks.
That's fantastic, Yevon. Real fast. What software are you using that you do a review and it puts it out on all the other sites?
Rate My Agents.
Rate
It's
My
called
Agent.
Rate My Agents. Yeah.
Rate My Agent. Perfect. Last question for you. Are you getting video reviews? Did you get a video review yesterday?
Yesterday, no, because my client said like we don't want to be social. You can post like we can leave you like Google review, that's fine, but no pictures. And I just did the picture for themselves with the gifts, and I sent to them just kind of like a memory. Their first, like they purchased first home, so it's kind of like very will be memorable for them. And yeah, but they not give me permission to share the video or share the pictures with them.
That's okay, but you did
Yeah,
ask. One
I did
final
ask. Yeah.
one final thought on that. Do you do a memory book for your people when they sell a house?
No, I don't.
That's where you take a
I don't know
picture
what to
book
do.
and you take all the pictures of the house, you put it in a book, you give it to them at the closing. I think that's one of the best closing gifts I ever heard.
Wow, we can discuss this next time.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Good
a
luck
good
at
one.
your appointment.
Yeah, I have to run. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I'll see you
Yemen.
on Thursday. Thank you.
All right, Blake, what do you got for us?
Yep. Okay. So yesterday, I'd say the thing that was most valuable yesterday in my activity was preparing a full recap report for my seller, and sending that. I did that yesterday because it was after the open house. I was able to, even though we'd spoken by phone, I gave her a full written report, knowing that she could share that with her family members. So there was that, and then today. I had just made a couple of notes here. I'm going to send some video texts to some folks, some that I just haven't talked to in a while. And I just want to say, hey, I was thinking about you, and um, hello. I'll come up with something that's real brief. That's going to be my reach out today, is some video texts.
Love it. That'll give you experience with it. It's a great reach out.
Yeah.
You'll get to see how it works. If it goes smoothly, let us know if you learn any techniques to make it go a little faster or easier. I assume you're just going to do that on your phone with all the tools on the
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah. It needs to be very, if it was anything slick, it wouldn't be good. So it needs to be really hands-on. Just um, hey, Mike, great to see you. Or I was thinking about you and hope you're doing well. Just hope you're enjoying this day. Have a great week. Maybe
Perfect.
ask a question if I have a question. Yeah.
I think you got to keep it really short for a texting video. Is it a minute or 30 seconds? You're going to find out. I think it's 30 seconds, but you might be able to go up to a minute. I know if you go beyond, I think when I tried to do it recently, if you go beyond a minute, it won't text the video. It's too long. So you'll have to
Yeah,
figure
with
that out on your phone.
Yeah, it does take up a lot of data to move a video across. The so that's I know that. So it would need to be short. Otherwise, you're going to be sucking up all their data, and it takes forever to download and all that. You don't want any of that. You want it to be pretty efficient.
Yeah, so maybe a 15-second would be your goal. And if it goes over slightly, you're fine. You're way under the 30 or
Yeah.
60-second limit. Cool. I can't wait to hear how that goes. Thank you for sharing. For me, I worked on a newsletter template yesterday. And then today, I'm going to make at least 25 dials. So that's my goal for today. And Blake, this was a lot of fun. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for being our focal point for our meeting today. I hope it was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I got 2 pages of notes here, so I'm good.
All right.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you, Blake.
See you.